Il Signore mi rende uno strumento della vostra pace.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace.
Dove c'è odio, lascialo seminare l'amore.
Where there is hatred, let me sow love.
Dove c'è ferita, dove c'è dubbio, fede, dove c'è disperazione, sperare, dove c'è nerezza, illuminarsi, dove c'è la tristezza, Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console,
To be understood as to understand.
to be loved as to love, as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born again.
It is in dying that we are born again.
It is in dying that we are born again to eternal life, Signore. Mi rende uno strumento della vostra pace.
Lord, make me,
Signore,
make me an instrument of your peace.
Good morning, dear teachers. Good morning to everyone and a blessed Sunday po sa ating lahat. Thank you for coming po. Even if it's a Sunday, alam po natin na marami tayong obligations and errands and chores pag Sunday. But thank you for joining us this morning. Don't worry po, we have one more session left in our 3-day program. So last session na po natin ngayong umaga. Just a few reminders po before we start with session 4, of course, is to accomplish number 1, our attendance for session 3. So, session 4, for day 3 po ng ating program. It's up on our FB group page, so doon po natin i-access. I've also posted several things there po. Unang-una po yung ating, of course, program evaluation tool, which is up there also. And yung ating post-test self-assessment. So, i-accomplish po natin to after the 4th session. Okay. Welcome to our latest i.LEAD member, si Ma'am Rhea Sylvia Dimpas from SDO Davao de Oro. Welcome po to the i.LEAD family, Ma'am Rhea. We will send your certificate of membership as well as your ID together with your certificates for this program. So, reminder lang po ng mga to-do natin. Of course, yung ating assessment tool, which is in the Word file, yung pong dinownload natin ng first day. Isasubmit po natin yan through a submission bin after session 4, pag na-accomplish na po natin lahat ng 4 na assessments natin. Of course, our pre-test and post-test self-assessment, and our program evaluation tool. Google link din po yun, nakapost po sa ating FB page, as well as the attendance link for the 4 sessions. Okay. Our speaker for this morning is already on deck. So, simulan na po natin yung ating session 4. For the last 3 sessions, what we've been doing is, of course, demonstrating how to develop higher order thinking skills using lab experiments, using activities that are collaborative. And yesterday, we were given ideas for investigatory projects, which are easy, simple to do, using materials that are easily sourced. So, this last section puts everything in context. No, bakit po ba natin ginagawa lahat yon? Because we have specific outcomes in mind. So, our speaker for this morning will discuss this. Session 4 is about science teaching from an outcomes-based and contextualized approach in a face-to-face, online, or modular context. This session aims to demonstrate how teachers can align lessons, activities, and outputs using the OBE framework. Furthermore, it seeks to improve existing OBE practices by integrating best practices from the traditional and contextual teaching pedagogy. Of course, we have learning outcomes for this morning. First is to develop a deeper understanding of OBE principles and contextualization. Second is to design lessons, modules, teaching materials that integrate traditional, creative, and the innovative pedagogy with the end goal of achieving target learning competencies. Then, of course, our assessment for the 4th session. Proficient teachers are asked to respond to the question, what are the challenges of implementing the OBE framework and contextualization for teaching science? So with challenges, we mean issues that we have encountered or some problems that we needed to solve in the implementation of OBE in our own classrooms. For the highly proficient teachers naman po, you're asked to respond to the question, what strategies can be effectively used to address perceived challenges to the implementation of OBE and contextualization? So napakadali po ng ating assessment for session 4. And to help us achieve our learning outcomes and respond to our assessment, we have with us this morning Sir Roy Asignacion. Sir Roy has earned his BSed specializing in science and technology from St. Louis University and his MA in Science Education from the MMSU, and is now pursuing his PhD in Science Education at St. Louis University. He's a certified trainer for science teachers from grades 7 to 10, and he also served as consultant for grades 7 to 9 science textbooks. Sir Roy is presently teaching at the St. Louis University Senior High School in Baguio City. Ladies and gentlemen, dear teachers, let's welcome our speaker for this morning, Sir Roy Asignacion. Sir Roy, good morning.
Good morning, Ma'am Ria. Good morning to
Good
all
morning
our
po.
teachers. Good morning to our i.LEAD team. And it's indeed a very warm and sunny Sunday. And we are blessed to be with you, considering the nature of the day and what is expected of us as a family member. And yet, we opted to join this session to complete our 3-day session. And as mentioned, I have this role for this morning in relation to our topic within the context of science education. And in line with this, I also would like to join you as we go on with short activities, interaction, sharing of experiences, and among others. So this point, just to prepare my slide, like you, to cover our usual and regular topics, usual because we have been hearing already terms like OBE or outcomes-based education. So with the contextualized approach, only that this time, since we already are into the transition period, what do we mean by transition? pre-pandemic, and then we went into more than 2 years of the pandemic mode of learning delivery. And for most schools here in the Philippines, let's say others started August, while the others started somewhat September, that there's already another shift or transition from the pure online, if not offline delivery or correspondence base, wherein some of us made use of printed modules. And for those who are blessed with reliable internet connection, they also ventured into the pure online modality. And this time, the term being promoted is what we call the high-plex learning modality. Anyway, we are still the science teacher that we are used to be, or that we are used to, not only in terms of the context and content that we deliver, whether from the elementary, junior, senior, and even in the tertiary level. What is really more challenging is the mode of delivery that would really require a lot of preparation, more time, and the challenge not only on being familiar with new technology and application, but of course, much as we wish that our internet connection will always be as friendly and as reliable. So join me, like you as a science teacher, or on my end, from the senior high school. I've been teaching general physics for our grade 12 STEM for St. Louis University Basic Education School. Now, to know you better, let's have our keyboard ready. Keyboard ready by sharing our responses through these short slides. Okay? So that I know that from your responses, I can already determine whether you can clearly hear my voice, and also your connection um, get would continue to get better because I can read your responses via chat box. So to start with, fill in the blanks. Teachers, basta teacher, mayaman sa. Ano kaya ang inyong sagot? Take it away. Start typing in your answer. Ano kaya? Exciting for our group. Loan, pagmamahal, experiences, papel, pagmamahal, aba, ideas, hindi na panahon, passion, stress, paperworks, iBags. Naku, nakaka-relate ata ako sa iBags. Mayaman daw tayo sa patience, stock knowledge, ang unawa, pasensya. Mayaman tayo sa overtime without pay. Ano ba? Oh, sige po, pakinggan natin. Ilabas niyo na. Basta teacher, mayaman sa webinar. Mayaman sa webinar gaya ngayon. Ano pa ba nga? Oh, baka parating pa yung responses ng mga teachers natin from Davao. Multiple coordinatorship. Oo nga. Parang napakagandang pakinggan, no? Multiple coordinatorship, pero hindi po biro ang mga ganyang assignments. Hectic schedule. Uban o puting buhok dahil sa stress. Multitasking. Mayaman tayo sa trabaho. At madalas, thank you. Di patitinag sa pressure. Tama. Pressure lang yan. Dapat caring-carry natin. Otherwise, lugi tayo. ASAP report. And I want it now. The due date is tomorrow. Trabaho. Ayan. Wrinkles. Humabol ang wrinkles. Nako, dito. O yan, no? Sabi, ASAP report. Ito naman ang term, instant noodles na report. Paperworks. Mukhang talagang na-trigger lang yung mga term na loan kanina, no? And then at the latter part, ibang mga terms na rin ang lumabas. Buhay teacher talaga. Basta teacher. Mayaman sa boyfriend. Nako, mapalad ka at marami kang pagpipilian sa boyfriend or kaibigang lalaki. Pero alam din natin, basta teacher, marami ang single, sabi nga nila. Okay, there. Thank you for your responses. Strategies, aba? Umabol ang mga strategies. Paperworks pa rin? Mhm. May nag-react na sa usaping boyfriend. Sabi na nga ba eh. Alright. So, for our second slide, still looking forward for your wonderful responses para mas maging gising at aktibo po tayo. Kung hindi ka naging guro, ano sa palagay mo ang trabaho mo ngayon? Kung hindi ka naging guro, ano sa palagay mo ang trabaho mo ngayon? Si Sir Roy, siguro nurse ako ngayon kung hindi ako naging guro. OFW, ayun may katulad ako si Teacher Apple, bank teller. Madre, madre, good for you Teacher Amelia. Accountant, businessman, engineer sa farm, sabi ni Teacher Connelly. OFW, makeup artist or farmer. Ayun, yun yung talagang kinahihiligan nila. Oo. Nasa Japan po sana ako ngayon. Tagaluto. Kaya nag-shift sa education. Somehow, may yan ang common story. Cook, housewife, ano pa? Apple picker sa US. Wow, malaking sweldo niyan, di po ba? Pati sa mga grape farm. Yun, civil engineer. Mananahi. Pare, may pumares naman kay Madre ngayon. Nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ni Madre. Please meet ang ating pare. Basta po wag po Padre Salvi ha o kaya Padre Damaso. O patok na patok po sila ngayon dahil mas naiintindihan ng ating mga kabataan ang naging bahagi ng kwento. Amelia Pompadre, capital letters na. Mukhang magka-co-teacher ang mga ito sa Kristan ni Padre Salvi, ganun po ba? Mukhang relate na relate ang mga teachers natin ngayong linggo, ha? Lilies of the Altar, OFW. All right. Okay, thank you so much. So, yun po. Kung saan tayo mayaman. Okay. For the madre and housewife. Alam natin kung ano ang common terminology or sagot natin kung saan tayo mayaman. At bukod doon, we also shared our input of what is expected of us in case we are not teachers of the basic education, if not higher education. All right, thank you. Buhay na buhay ang ating chat box, umuusok siya. Now, what is next to this is for us to relate a short video clip, and later on, we can input the expected outcome for our learners. What do we mean by that? For Sir Roy, I would like to listen to you by telling me from the video that you would watch later on of the target outcome for our learners in relation to the message of this clip. Okay? I already clicked the link and I hope you are seeing right now the tab for this video. From the chat box, please. Do you already see the screen of our... Yan, di pa po. Nakikita na namin. Thank you, Teacher Amor. Okay, now I can proceed. All right. So that is our short clip entitled El Empleo. Now, as a starting sharing, what did you feel about the message of the video? What was the immediate feeling you felt when you have completed watching our video? Lifeless. Teacher Amor said lifeless, sick and twisted, unexpected. So it appears that the initial responses from the chat box is negative, yung pakiramdam. Unfortunate, that is a very, very good term. Unmotivated. Correct. At times, we call it mabigat sa pakiramdam. Slave of money. All right. Thank you so much for your immediate sharing. Now, going back to the question, I hope you are looking right now at the slideshow. Wage or salary, correct? Scarcity, stressful. Thank you. And let me just um, go back. And from those input you shared, the intention is to reflect on what we want our students to be, what we want them to be after they complete basic education, after they complete tertiary education. What do we want them to be? What is our target outcome for them? Is it simply about money? Is it simply about position? Is it simply about earning a 6-digit, 7 or 5-digit salary? Dear teachers, aside from being successful in their career, can you share with me what else do you want or what else do you expect of our learners? There is happiness and contentment. They are not mere object of the society. Achievers, desirable citizen. There's that social impact, right? They will not only be looking at themselves on a pedestal, but rather they become a desirable citizen of our country. There is the concept of community. There is the concept of involvement. Their skills are there. Real world, mabigat ang ibig sabihin ng real world. And they become holistic. Yan, I love this. With a heart and conscience. And they continue to do what they are passionate of. There. So as you can see, as we talk about outcomes-based education and contextualized learning approach, we are not only limiting our perception of our learners of what they can do, on how much they can retain in terms of the content or knowledge they learn from their grade 9 science, grade 8 science, elementary science, or senior high school science. We will appreciate more if we can see them, if we can witness them becoming a person, not only for themselves or their family, but also a person for others of their community. There is already the context that because of our exposure to them, because of what we prepared for them in terms of soft skills with the hard skills, they don't view themselves as somebody who is very exclusive, rather a learner who is inclusive. Thank you. And to continue, let's um, for the app I would like to share you right now has a limited capacity, meaning it can only accept those who can connect through the website shown, the one in yellow. If you can connect through the website shown, using your laptop or using your desktop, it will ask you about the code. And the code is already here, M8 NDV. Since it has a limitation because I am only sharing to you a basic version of this educational technology, for the others, you can continue to share your responses via chat box. So again, for those who can readily connect through this website, join.nearpod.com. Once you are into this website, you will be asked of the code as a learner or student. And the code is found in the screen. And, sorry, to make it more convenient, I will copy paste the link and try to share it through our chat box. That would help. All right. So there, kindly check on the chat box so that you can use that. So I am expecting that for others, they can join via the Nearpod site, while the others, we can all see what will be shared through the website via the screen sharing. And from the screen sharing, you can share your responses through the chat box. So now, initially, we have some of our teachers joining in. So for those who just joined our Zoom session, kindly check on the chat box. Let me resend it there. More students or teachers are coming in. If I'm not mistaken, 40 to 50 participants can be allowed to actively interact through our Nearpod community, and the others can share their responses through the chat box. So let's just give each other 3 minutes to utilize the link and join. Initially, we have the names or student list there. And later, if the time would permit, I will give you a short tour of the use of this technology or tool so that you can also use this in your respective classes. Correct po. Once I would start with the different slides, you will also view the other slides. Yan. Tama po. For now, parang waiting muna. 2 minutes more. Dumami na po tayong sumasali. So again, for those who just joined, kindly click the link from our chat box. All right. So time's up. So again, for us to appreciate more responses coming from our participants for our training, for those who are within the Nearpod community, you can use the interactive tool as I move one slide after the other. Meanwhile, for the others, they can readily share their responses through our chat box. So we are to start now. And for this presentation, we will have our virtual tour. Okay? So let's welcome one another for this virtual tour, especially for those who haven't been into this tourist destination. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering our virtual reality page, and I would like to welcome you to Boracay Island. For those who are using their desktop or laptop, you can use your browser and you can click. Let's pretend that that's my family early morning walk. And that is the hotel where we checked in. It's the first time of the family in Boracay. So it's a once in a lifetime experience. And of course, that's the famous grotto, oftenly featured during Holy Week, since um, borders have been opened already. Expect that in the coming days for December and even Holy Week for next year, that this entire stretch of the shore would be filled with local and foreign tourists. So here is the tour for you. But wait, there's more. For the next slide, another area of Boracay, especially for those who are good in swimming. So there's a portion here where we can do scuba diving. And the same mechanism. For those with their laptop and desktop, you can scroll it again. These are the other tourists joining the group. And you can see other tourists lining up with their life vests and going for a snorkel, checking for the corals and fish. So this is another feature of our tool which you can use. That is the use of the virtual reality or virtual tour. Only that you can choose to encode a specific place. Within the Philippines, there are limited destinations, but for other countries, of course, the option available is their most popular tourist destination. So if you would include Egypt, for example, it will give you the option about their pyramids. If you would include Brazil, they would also include their Amazon as part of the virtual reality. But then again, at the very least, we are offering our learners another experience, though not real life, but something virtual because of the limitations. Okay, so moving on. So Roy would like to get to know more of you. So for those who joined us, for our 31 or 30 participants, I hope you can make use now of this slide and click the appropriate item for you. For the others, please feel free to use our chat box. What grade level are you teaching this academic year? You may start now. What grade level are you teaching this academic year? From the chat box, others said junior high school, senior high school, elementary. We also have a good number of elementary participants for this training this December. Elementary and junior high school. All right. Thank you for your responses. Hey. So with the input, I can click on my teacher mode so that I can see the responses. So if we try to share, this time, I hope you can see now the summary. Majority, 29% are still doing their best to answer. And for those who already have answered, 29.4% are from the elementary level. Meanwhile, 23% from the junior high school level, and then 17 to 18% senior high school. Okay. So that is the summary of the response coming from our teachers. So you can already imagine if your learners have the opportunity to use this technology and they can also give their responses. Of course, I'm sure you've already been guided also through a lot of webinars and trainings of other tools. Mention ang Mentimeter, Slido, and the like. Later, we'll also share more about what Nearpod can offer so that it can provide you more options as you deliver your lessons. Take note, for free. All right, so from this slide, let's move on. Now that you have identified your grade level, let's also determine your years of teaching. And I am excited to know the most senior among us for this batch of participants. How many years have you been teaching? A, B, C, D, E, F, or G? Wow, F, si Teacher Marites. I'll take note of that, Teacher Marites, letter F. Merong E. F is 26 to 30 years. Amazing! Yan. We have a good number who have been clicking B and C. Meron din, Teacher Sarah. F din siya. Congratulations, Teacher Sarah. Teacher Magnolia is also letter F. Wow. Teacher Myra, 16 years, so letter D. Yan. Nice. So, with the responses submitted, let's see the result and you share this. I knew it. We have a very young batch for this training group this December. For letter B, 4 to 10 years, 25%, followed by 11 to 15 years, 22%. Then our new teachers, 0 to 3 years, 11%, followed by 26 to 30 years of service, 5%, and 31 years of service and above. Ah, 2.9%. Wow. So, meron na talagang mga haligi na talaga ng paaralan. Haligi, mga poste, baka building na talaga ang ipapangalan sa inyo with your with your number of years in service in your respective institution as a science teacher. Wonderful. So, that would be another mechanism. Okay, so for this, we will utilize this later. Allow me first to go back to our session. So I am going back to our Google slide. And from the Google slide, I again click the slideshow and we will now proceed to the next slide. We will go back again to our Nearpod later on, so you can kindly minimize it first, and we will proceed now to our targets. Something that is specific, measurable, accepted, reasonable, and time bound. And partly, this was also mentioned by Ma'am Ria earlier, that what is expected for our session demonstrate how teachers can align lessons, activities, and outputs using the outcomes-based education. We will not focus on all the details of an outcomes-based education. Rather, we will see aspects of OBE that is more relatable for basic education, because the partner is mentioned in target number 2, improve existing OBE practices by integrating contextual learning styles based approach, contextual learning styles based approach, and the third one, we will highlight the balance in terms of content for distance learning education. I would still include this distance learning education because for some schools, high flex pa rin po sila. There is a session or day or days wherein they will meet their learners online. Meanwhile, there are still schools who are still using the printed modules for their students. May I know them? from the chat box, dear participants. Kindly type on the chat box what modality is your school offering right now? Is it already face to face? Is it blended or hyplex, or is your school still utilizing our printed module? Thank you, teacher Rubelis. Face to face, face to face, face to face. Good. So from the responses of our participants, we can already have a picture that from Luzon participants until Mindanao participants, with the directive coming from the Department of Education, that there should already be the shift from the blended modular to face to face. Yan na, coming in. So dear teachers, my follow-up question, since you are already using the face-to-face modality, what happened with your modules this time? Are you still utilizing your modules? What happened with the modules you have been using for more than 2 years? You can click your raise hand button should you wish, so that we can also hear your voice. Teacher Jeffrey, they are still using it. Teacher Amelia, they're still using it. Module pa rin po, basehan. Still using the printed modules, the activities? Yes, that's very true. Correct. Since currently for this academic year, we are still within the context of the MELCS version of the curriculum guide, and at the same time, the modules are still very functional. We can always utilize what we have prepared there, what we have worked hard on, and student learning materials. And these are still very useful, especially for our learners who would be absent for a couple of days. They can just go with their modules and they will not lose track of the continuity of the lesson. Same practice that we also do. Because take note, the fact that we are already face to face, time and again, we would experience, and our school physician would inform us that this student, that the following students would be absent for 5 days because of their symptoms. Though they have been tested negative, but with their symptoms, they are to stay in their respective homes. Since learners would be absent for 5 days, it is expected that they will still access topics and lessons through the modules, and the modules are uploaded via the learning management system, or the LMS. There, that's why I asked about your modality and the use of your modules. Thank you so much. And since we are into this modality already, we expect that there is also the transition. Now, we look at our background as a science educator and our field, science education, especially in the period of the pandemic. It should not be a surprise that we experience COVID-19 as an example of a pandemic, because if we try to go back to history, there are other similar, if not more tragic pandemic that the world had experienced, like syphilis, cholera, and so with the other pandemic, past pandemic experiences. Now, the purpose why Sir Roy shared this with you is for us to learn what is expected of us as a science educator, not necessarily a scientist or a researcher, but a science educator of the basic education. Past pandemics can point to not only the development of scientific explanations in time, but also the societal context that harbored them. Because during the past pandemic, ang nangibabaw, takot. Ang nangibabaw, misinformation. This time, later I would like to listen to you. How did you utilize the current pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, in your science lessons? I wish to hear from you later. So that is our role, that is our mission. So again, I mentioned about syphilis, cholera. We also have Spanish flu, and the most recent one is COVID-19. Now here is the question. You can raise your hand later or you can utilize our chat box. Gustong-gusto ni Sir Roy kayo marinig. How did science education make or break our consciousness with regard to COVID-19? How did science education make or break our consciousness with regard to COVID-19? As science teachers, what role or what specific or special role did we have? Despite the pandemic, we did our best to have lessons with our learners, and it also became an eye-opener for the education sector and our role as a science teacher. What special role did we do that gave an eye-opener to our students with regard to the pandemic? Remember, we still have a lot of people who don't believe that there is a pandemic. We still have a lot of groups who don't believe about vaccines. Teacher Rovi shared to us the term awareness. So as a science teacher, we offer awareness, information dissemination. So if there is a specific lesson about that we can relate or integrate pandemic, that is where information dissemination would come in, right? We raise the awareness. Is it true that it came from bats? Is it true that it came from these animals as vectors or carriers? And is it true that vaccines can help? Very true, Teacher Arvelin, lesson integration. There, Teacher Laureline already highlighted a topic in science, specifically body system. So through these topics, not necessarily only biology topics, because of our idea of integration social issue, we can still promote information dissemination as against fake news. That is our target. We have to make sure that the fake news are checked, they are corrected, and they are um, given a good counterpart. Correct. Because our purpose, we have this mission to make sure that our learners would become knowledgeable about COVID-19 with the correct information. And to proceed, the current pandemic is set against a backdrop of growing mistrust in science, sometimes deliberately promoted for political ends. For instance, as is the case of climate change denial. Up to now, more than a decade na ang issue about global warming and climate change, others still do not believe about it, that it is a hoax. For the next part, there is an unprecedented need to educate our learners because they are the future scientists as well as the public in engaging not only in evidence-based reasoning and critical thinking, but also in action-oriented and socially responsible citizenship. That is already our mission. We don't only focus on our topic, but also to offer opportunity that if there is a chance to campaign, like one of our participants mentioned about health protocol and vaccination, advocacy, there, campaign materials, right? They can do the campaign within the school that despite the face-to-face modality, makakatulong pa rin ang mask, makakatulong pa rin ang washing, makakatulong pa rin kung pipiliin nating magpabakuna. Thank you. And with that special role, we are not only focusing on outcomes-based education, and so with the contextualized approach, science education is giving us a specific mission to be a hero in our own little ways, that with the young generation, we are interacting on a daily basis inside the classroom. Kasi nga face-to-face na, we offer this opportunity to them. Now, we can choose from here. Education systems from around the world urgently need to embrace curriculum, instruction, and assessment approaches that will empower students by adopting scientific habits of mind. Now, dear teachers, you have three choices. Will you go for curriculum, instruction, and assessment? Let's say we have the opportunity to interact with DepEd Secretary Duterte, Sara Duterte. You are only given one choice, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. What would you choose to lobby or to promote that should be given the highest priority? Is it curriculum, instruction, or assessment? Which of the three should be given the highest priority? And of course, please share to us your reason. Why do you think among the three this should be given the highest priority, especially for basic education? The first 6 responses immediately mentioned about curriculum. Probably they are thinking, is there the need to change again our curriculum of K to 12? Teacher Jonathan is very specific. He mentioned about our curriculum being congested. Imagine from the original K to 12 curriculum, it was transitioned to milk, most essential. But from our experience, most essential na yan pero congested pa rin. Teacher Amor about curriculum because they wish to go for the most important learning areas. And Teacher Nelly, with the proper curriculum, instruction can be tailored fit properly. There's already the continuity that with the effective curriculum, the instruction can be tailored fit. Teacher Lina mentioned that assessment is her priority, followed by curriculum. Then the instruction will follow. So that's the ranking that they chose. Thank you. So at this point, 2016 is the first year of our senior high school. Senior high school na yun, And recently, yung first batch ng K to 12 nakagraduate na rin. We are looking forward to very accurate and reliable result if indeed they conducted a study about the effectiveness of our curriculum, and hopefully from there we can claim, is K to 12 effective, or was K to 12 curriculum able to achieve the expected transfer goal or the expected deliverable considering its framework. A partner of curriculum instruction and assessment, let's proceed with our next slide. That the current health emergency is putting the demands on the quality of online learning environment, although we have shifted already. High-stake assessment systems face significant accountability challenges in obtaining reliable measures of learning outcomes. When students cannot attend examination in person, but of course, now, na-miss natin na nagpo-proctor tayo face-to-face with our learners. We just finished our first grading period. We just um, distributed the report card, and from the report card, our parent guardian were able to see the achievement of our learners for the first grading. Now, please, dear teachers, share it again to us. Sir Roy is very excited about this. After one grading period and after more than 2 years of our learners attending school online, attending school using modules, what did we notice about our learners after one grading period? There is the result of the assessment, formative and summative assessment after 1 quarter. What did we notice about our learners? Ayun, si Teacher Amor talagang hinighlight niya. Learning gap, sobrang laki. Laging behind. Dami ko estudyante, sabi ni Teacher Amor, di marunong magbasa. More than 2 years naman. Teacher Magnolia, relate po tayo dyan. Very poor result. Doon pa lang sa aming pre-test. Hindi na kami nagulat na single digit lang ang kanilang mga scores. Out of 20 points, that's what we saw when we gave them a pre-test. How about the others? Walang comprehension, poor in writing and reading, di marunong magsulat at magbasa. Ito na yung sa basic ed, no? Elementary, short attention span and retention, very horrible. Magbigay ng extra effort para makahabol. Grabe, nakakalungkot. Spoon feeding. Siyempre sa bahay, maraming nagtuturo sa bata. Maraming nagga-guide. So nasanay ang mga bata sa ganun. Ayan pa, dumagdag pa yung attitude na yan from our learners. Teacher Robelin shared the same sentiment. The basic R's, spoon feeding. So as expected, what we are already asking from them is already the minimum. And yet, since we are merely asking for the minimum, there are still some who cannot even meet the minimum in terms of requirements, in terms of what they mentioned, comprehension. Kaya yung bridging program talaga ay napaka-importante. That's why we already have conditioned ourselves between and among math and science teachers, because that is our department in our school, that on our end as their teachers, we should not already expect so much from them. Though there are those learners who are really achievers, majority are really still coping since they were not able to cope well during the pandemic format, distance learning. Though obviously, we know that it is not easy for everyone, teachers and students alike, even with the parents. It's not easy to adapt with the distance learning modality. That's why came the face-to-face transition. We expect that others are still coping. They were shocked. Poor comprehension, basic science lesson in junior high school already forgotten when they reach grade 12. Hindi lang sa hindi na po nila maalala, talagang wala. That's the truth. Thank you for this. Thank you for this sharing, learners. Thank you, Teacher Jonathan. Thus, little by little, we should not give up. We should continue that the needed scientific skills, for them to have the comprehension, for them to cope with the pandemic and the transition to face-to-face learning modality. That is where our role would come in. We should continue to prepare activities and experiments and learning materials to our learners of the basic education, so that we can again guide them to what is expected in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their skills, and equally important, in terms of the attitude that they need to master. Expect that a lot of the content cannot be covered. We can we can only choose to go for the minimum. And then we go for the life skills, soft and hard, as you mentioned in our chat box, so that at the end of the day, they may forget lessons, but the expected attitude and values that they should imbibe should still be there. And that is only possible if on our part as teachers would choose to give them those opportunities. That's why, look at what I continued from the red text to the blue text. How can science subjects, dito na sa basic education, equip learners with scientific skills to understand and cope with the pandemic? Okay? They are already in the classroom. Wala nang ate, kuya, wala nang tatay, nanay na sasagot ng kanilang module. Agad-agad, we can already see the result. We can already see whether they can answer well orally during a question and answer. And then when we ask them to do it by group, we can see already groups of learners who have poor performance. And from here, we can expect a transition. Diba? May transition na nga sa distance learning, may transition ulit sa face-to-face modality. So we will not do this anymore, but I just would like you to reflect that as a subject teacher of science, whether for elementary, junior, and senior high school, choose one teaching load of the current academic year wherein you integrated the pandemic as part of your lesson. Okay? Kahit sa chat box na lang natin gawin ito. So, I am a participant of this webinar. I would recall one of my teaching load because I'm sure most of us have more than 2 teaching load. And then from the teaching load I have this academic year, I would recall a specific topic wherein I made use of the pandemic situation, maybe as an example or as a form of integration. No need for the summary, the sharing will do. And then what specific skill or skills that were tapped and assessed in this lesson or activity? Is it the comprehension, reading skill, the social interaction skill? Is it a technological knowledge skill? And the like. Okay? So feel free to click the raise hand button and then share to us during the pandemic and your teaching load, how were you able to integrate it? So you can cite teaching load is grade 4 science. What was your topic? And from your topic, how were you able to integrate the experience of the pandemic? Go ahead. You may now share it with us. We have 5 minutes to prepare our sharing. Pwede nyo rin pong basahin mamaya. If not, you can already use our chat box. Okay? So we have 5 minutes preparation time. Yay! Initial responses are coming in. Teacher Amor, science, of course, the respiratory system, napakagandang integration. Importance of using face mask, face shield, and hand sanitizing. The proper health and safety protocol, right? And then Teacher Magnolia, reading skill. Okay. There's a text or a article, how to maintain a healthy body. Tama. A science teacher, and yet you wish also to help in developing the reading skill. Bakit hindi? A wonderful integration of the science topic with the English activity. Science and EPP. For Teacher Jonathan, is what was mentioned before I start my class. I usually remind them about our classroom rules regarding health protocol. Here, grade 6 science of Teacher Laurelyn. I integrated COVID-19 in the body systems topic, particularly respiratory system, and also in history, see, of pandemic and the importance of vaccination is integrated in the circulatory system on the function of, ayan no, talagang very fresh pa kay Teacher Laurelyn, white blood cells in our body. And the purpose of introducing the weak virus to our body so that it can fight COVID-19 virus. Yan. So makikita na nila. And there, on our part as science teacher, there is the confidence in us to do integration if we ourselves are knowledgeable or with a good background about the COVID-19 pandemic, right? It should not be hit and miss. Otherwise, we are also contributing in misinformation. For Teacher Amor, it's very practical, maintaining cleanliness. Teacher Apple, science, the lesson is scientific method. We had an activity that talks about how do medical professionals or scientists were able to come up with vaccine. In fact, na-trigger yung interest ko sa topic na to ni Teacher Apple. In fact, we can also give them the topic or the article on the development of vaccine, because I also read an article that says others are scared of the vaccine because how come for this pandemic, in less than 1 year, na-develop yung vaccine at na-approve siya for use. While before, when we talk about vaccine, it talks about years. Yun, parang ang contention nila, itong vaccine na ginagamit sa atin ngayon is actually a guinea pig approach. It's not really the vaccine that is very reliable and well developed. Parang ganun siya, 'di ba? Kaya others are not into vaccine. Yan, magandang opportunity po yun. Ano nga ba? Dapat ba na ang mga bakuna would always take more than 3 to 5 years to be developed and approved for human use? Or is it also viable that vaccines can be developed and approved for use in a very quick time? Now, we also have this. The pandemic situation was used topic in my homeroom. Wow, Teacher Nelly, very creative. They were asked to write and share their experiences during the lockdown and identify lessons they have learned. In fact, surely Teacher Nelly and other teachers, meron pa yung mas malalim dyan dahil marami sa mga kababayan natin and even some of our learners na naging biktima mismo sila, if not their relatives. And to some extent, baka may makapag-share pa na may mahal sila sa buhay na nawala because of the pandemic. Teacher Sarah, thank you. Teacher Lenny. Well, for Teacher Marlon, animal and plant cell, I was able to introduce what is an animal and plant cell, organelles, then integrating that the virus will destroy their cells if they will not take care of their health. Well said. In my topic, grade 8 science, students utilize readily available materials to do their activity, socioeconomic status, health protocol, Grade 9 math. Wow. Keeping in practice the health protocol. Thank you, Teacher Ebalita. Human body. Harmful and useful materials. Respiratory system for another participant, Teacher Melanie. Volcanoes, pandemic, environment with our health, organs of the body, Teacher Arveline, Teacher Lenny, of again, respiratory, circulatory, lifestyle for Teacher Myra, MAPE rin, particularly health, that's true. Teacher Apple, wow, eto na. So makikita natin that because of the opportunity given to us as a science educator, we have been a very important frontliner. I will use that term. It's a very appropriate term. We became a very important frontliner in sharing this information, activity, and opportunity for our learners. Because as we said earlier, our intention is to give them reliable information and background so that they will not be misinformed, so that they would be more critical in in selecting social media posts, and news articles about the virus, about the vaccine. Thank you so much. Your sharing is a testament that indeed you don't think twice in making sure that your lessons are well thought of, the activities, and then the opportunity for the learners would be very much appreciated. You did not hesitate to give our learners this opportunity. Thus, because of the opportunity that you gave to our learners in basic ed with regard to COVID-19 and their experiences, critical reflection, just like what one teacher mentioned, on science and more broadly on STEM curriculum, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Yan, si Teacher Nicholas, naalala pa niya, making use of graphs, probably vaccination status, for those who have been exposed, for those who have been reinfected, and the like. Math and even Filipino. Wow, wonderful. Preparing the future generation for acquiring knowledge and skills to deal with global concerns such as the pandemic and the climate change emergency. In fact, from global to local, because these are still being experienced by our community. Now we go to our context on contextual approach. What do authors say? That for most authors, learning in the classroom will be more meaningful if students get experience what they are learning, not only knowing it. That's contextual. Now let's go to something more positive again with our continuous sharing. Dahil may face-to-face na, dear teachers, ano ang pinaka-na-miss natin na ngayon nagawa ulit natin ngayong pasukan? Dahil face-to-face na, ano yung pinaka-na-miss natin sa klase na nagawa ulit natin dahil face-to-face na nga? Please share it with us. Was it an activity? Was it an experiment? Ano po yung pinaka-na-miss nyo with your class? Na parang hindi ganun ka-effective nung Google Meet, nung Zoom, or nung module ang gamit. Yan. There. Group activity, interaction with the learners. More interaction. Using PWA. Teacher Nicolas, please share further about PWA. Group activity. Paki-reply na lang po ulit ang PWA po ninyo. Teacher Marlon, activities and projects. Actual, pareho tayo, Teacher Marites. Yung facial expressions ng mga bata. Alam mo yun, from their eyes, from their smiles, their shouts, their cheers, their claps. Yun. Yun ang pinaka-na-miss ko rin po. The way we teach. Yes. Can be done effectively. Correct. Group and individual activities. Lahat daw, sabi ni teacher. See? Teacher Evelita agreed with the eye-to-eye contact. Mag-answer mga assessment nila. Tama. And you know the feeling when a student or group of students will go in front and they will talk, they will present, they will explain, and then after the explanation, they got it correctly, they delivered it well, yung ganong feeling ng contentment if you are the teacher. Yun po yung napakasarap ng pakiramdam. Interaction talaga, group activity. Yes, that's very true. Creativity, kitang-kita mo kaagad. And then the feeling na sila yung may gawa dahil nakikita mong ginagawa nila. Correct. You see, all those things that we missed, all those things that we're longing for more than 2 years at nagawa ulit natin, contextual na kaagad ang ating pinaranas sa kanila. There. So, as you can see, even during the pandemic, contextual approach is still very effective. So we are just making it sure that it will not be disregarded. Yet, differentiated instruction would always be the top priority. From here, when we talk about localized and contextualized learning activities, madali na siyang gawin ngayon dahil na face-to-face. Now, for our senior high school teachers, always remember that if there are some activities and experiments, for example, diba, sa Earth and Life, sa physical science, and then of course, other subjects under the STEM strand, we also have to consider their strand. If it's for ABM and UMS for gas or TBL, we also have to make a twist so that our learners from this strand can relate more. And we also have to consider their exit. Is their exit after senior high school for employment? Is their exit directed towards college education? Then if we try to design our activities and make it contextualized, please do consider these. At the same time, their future career as an engineer, as a nurse, and then in their community. With your learners, is the community where your students belong? Are they into farming? Are they into fishing? Are their parents more into construction? Is your community near gravel and sand community where most of their parents are into those line of work? Is the community into charcoal preparation or charcoal selling? Or is the community where your learners are into the urban setting? Then these are also considered social issues, kung ano ang madalas na napag-uusapan. Not necessarily topics or issues that are into TikTok or social media hype, but rather something that would really involve them, their life. And with this preparation, this is already the best way to get their attention because something that they can relate with. Thus, if we talk about um, this activity or experiment, when we ask them to give their share or input or insight, surely they can share it because they've been into it. That's why more authors would share to us that learning using a contextual approach fosters pleasure, it increases activity, and improves learning achievement. And if these are all activated and triggered to our learners, the retention will be more established. Whether you are the earth science teacher, you are the physics teacher, you are the bio teacher, or a teacher of science in the elementary, if we always consider this, the outcomes-based education becomes successful because you partnered it with the contextual approach. Don't worry, other pictures would come in. But before that, let me also share this with you. We have our K to 12 program. So to our elementary, high school teachers, these are the very important skills that we always have to consider. Even if they are in grade 1 or grade 12, there are opportunities for them to develop their communication skill dahil may face-to-face na ulit. Kaya natuwa ako kanina when you said you are to give them a reading activity. Okay? A reading activity, though the topic of the article is in science. Critical thinking skill, technology skill, communication and technology skill, problem solving. And of course, the 21st century skill related with those in red text. But don't forget that every time we prioritize these skills, we should always stay grounded. As a teacher of the private school, maybe stay grounded wherein as we go for the effective or value formation, we always go back to our school's vision, mission, and goals. Because that is our priority, that our learners, when they complete basic education, there is that mark or there is that identity that they will develop and they will bring in college, or they will continue to share in their community, because you gave them the opportunity to make sure that they will not forget that attitude or mark as a graduate of your school. We always go back to the school's vision, mission, and goal. Okay? Now, here's another activity for everyone. With this picture, there is no planet B. What aspect of valuing do we want our learners to develop? The picture has been shared, and with the caption, there is no planet B. What attitude or what valuing activity can we promote or share to our learners? Very active ang ating mga participants. Let's start with Teacher Amor, taking good care of the environment. Teacher Magnolia, loving nature. Teacher Mary Joy, pagka, maka, kalikasan. Diba? Kailangan mo talagang basahin ng dahan-dahan para may emphasis. Pagka, maka, kalikasan. Preservation. Love. But for the initial responses of our teachers, it is something universal and generic, right? It is something very universal and generic. How can we relate this picture to something more specific in school and at home? Ano kaya yon? Parang pang Miss Universe ang mga nauuna nating nabasa na responses. How about a very specific value that we want them to develop in school and at home? There, working together with classmates, taking good care of our community in terms of litters, in terms of trash, in terms of waste segregation. There, I love the self-discipline. Yan na, binanggit na, kaingin. Kakarelate sila, baka ganun ang isang issue sa kanilang community. Home, waste segregation. In school, cooperation and participation. There you are, Teacher Gerald. Proper waste disposal. Yan na. So something that is very universal, and then with the guided instruction or with the guided question coming from Sir Roy, the responses from you assuming that you are my students, it became more specific already, something that you can relate more. So the outcomes-based direction is leading towards something more contextual as an answer. There you are. Teacher Nicholas highlighted responsible mining. So my assumption is that the student can relate to it because probably his father is working in a mining company, or if not, they are within the mining community. There. Ay, mukhang na-gets na ng ating mga teacher participants. Thank you so much. Diba? So contextual learning will be more meaningful for the students as it relates the material to the daily life, activities, and experiences of the student. Here, a social issue. What do you think is being conveyed here? Social issue naman ngayon. Yan na. Sinupalpal ka agad ni Teacher Marlon. Thank you so much, Teacher Marlon. Walang isip-isip, sinabi na kaagad. Pakitang tao. Ayan, makaka-relate ka agad ang mga estudyante mo sa term pa lang. There, on the other hand, a positive approach, Teacher Lenny, a question on sincerity. Plastikan, pasad. Politicking, yan na, mabigat to. Teacher Amor, level up siya. Tupperware, Orocan, and the like. Publicity. Meron pa po, may gusto pa akong matarget ninyo. Nung May 16, the action does not correlate with the intention. Char-char. Meron pa po, meron pang social issue dyan. Just for media. There, thank you so much, Teacher Lenny. Kompleto na ang araw ni Sir Roy. Choosing good leader, Teacher Lenny de Chavez. I salute you. You have that context immediately. Yan, Teacher Sheila. We are with the learners. We are with the generation of young voters. Generation of young voters. That if we give them the opportunity to decide well, to be very critical, na hindi magpapadala sa social media, yan, sana magiging tool tayo para maturuan sila na mamili ng tama. Especially for our leaders of 3 years, 6 years. Because in the end, damay-damay po ang damay-damay ang magiging negative effect if we don't vote wisely. Tama po, wise voters sana. Yan, thank you. So that's already the valuing part, okay? Not necessarily about illegal logging, kaingin, and so on, kasi given na yon. Pero deep inside, if we want to extract more from our learners and something that is beyond science topic, yun, dapat makapili tayo ng tamang button to press so that when we share it with our learners, makuha nila and it would remain in them. Okay? Here, sharing it with you. This is somewhere in La Trinidad, Benguet, where our famous strawberry field is. Because recently, especially during the rainy season, a lot of the portion of this mountain slope, because above, it is already being developed as part of the subdivision. But since the mountain slope is already absent of trees, we know what to expect if heavy rain would continue to pour. And in effect, water will go down. So with mud and other materials. And would you believe, saang part po ito? Any guess? This was months ago. Although it is somewhere here in the Cordillera, it is somewhere here in the province of Benguet. Any guess? Saan po ito? Yan, nakarelate si Teacher Magnolia. Mukhang may same scenario po sila. Any other guess kung saan po ito? Teacher Rosalinda mentioned about Baguio. Okay? This is actually in the Nueva Ecija, Ifugao. In fact, this is the strawberry field in La Trinidad, Benguet. Strawberry plantation in La Trinidad, Benguet. And a portion of it, you're correct, Teacher Nicholas, you're correct, Teacher Donald. La Trinidad, Benguet, strawberry field plantation, and other vegetable plantation like lettuce. Because of the continuous rain, ayan na po ang nangyari. And not only because of the heavy downpour, naging mabilis din yung pagbaba ng mga tubig because the slope surrounding the strawberry field, agad-agad bumubulusok na po yung tubig because there is already a reduced opportunity for the mountain slope to absorb water dahil marami ng bahay, dahil marami ng bahagi ng bundok ang nakalbo, dahil yung drainage system barado dahil sa basura and so on. So chain reaction na po yan. So on my end as a science teacher, I can opt to choose pictures and videos where my learners can relate to. Probably some of my learners are from Benguet. Some of my learners are from Baguio. And when we talk about this, there is a chance for them to share also their experience because probably some of their relatives are farmers here. If not, some of their relatives are businessmen or women along the tourist attraction. Siyempre, ilang araw pong sarado or ilang weeks na sarado ang tourist attraction because of what had happened. Ayan, deforestation and commercialization. Ayan. And the one on the left picture is along Cannon Road. And then the one on the right is a portion of Halsema Highway. There. So if we talk about old school or traditional form of technology, showing picture is a traditional form of technology, posting it on the board is traditional form of technology, and yet it is still very effective depending on how well we will plan our lesson delivery. Is it talking about the environment? Is it talking about political issue or even corruption? I would make use of the one on the left as part of corruption. Let's say, yung quality ng retaining wall na ginawa and retaining net. Probably it was only this year na ginawa ito, tapos nasira na. Diba? Pwedeng sa ganung aspeto natin atakihin ang picture na ito. So this is already very concrete way of using traditional tools of pictures as a form of our contextual approach. Because teachers in teaching should pay attention to the learning styles of their students. So with the contextual approach, we can make use of the learning style. Yan, deforestation and mining as well. Thank you so much. And talking about learning styles, I can share with you a learning style inventory. This is a free ebook I will share you the link later on. And this free ebook will already give you a lot of details about your learning style. Hindi lang po yung usual na learning style na na-expose tayo nung nasa College of Education tayo. Marami na rin pong version ng learning styles. And from there, we can evaluate the learning style of our learners kasi nga ibang generation na po sila. Diba? From millennials to Generation Z. And then the power of social media. Yeah. Merong inventory and authors who will guide you. This book could be a professional material on your end, probably in your graduate school. At the same time, it can also be a powerful material with your learners. And at this point, I would like to highlight this part. I will start with the blue one. There are a lot of topics in our science subjects that are abstract. Okay? And learning style says the only way for our learners to grasp the abstract lesson is to make use or to prepare examples, activities, and strategies where they can experience it. And the best way to have a concrete experience is to prepare a hands-on activity. Good thing meron na tayong face-to-face. Kung hindi man siya hands-on activity, if it fits a specific experiment, then much better. And at the same time, with regard to affective domain, we can also prepare questions that will allow them to share their reflective responses. An essay, sentence completion, that is also where we can gauge if indeed they were able to understand the lesson. Only that, not the concepts, not the knowledge, but the affective domain. If you would like to learn from them about their stand about mining or responsible mining, you prepare something that they can reflect to. Is it a question? Is it a picture analysis? Is it an essay? And so forth. Okay? And if we are always conscious about this, then the learning style is a priority. And at the same time, the contextualized activity is also given justice because at the end of the day, the outcomes based at the end of a quarter, at the end of the semester, will also be successful. Where will it reflect? Siyempre, andyan ang culminating performance task or the big task, right? That is where the skills are developed, the evidence of knowledge acquisition is also seen, and equally important, affective or attitude is developed also from our learners. Okay? Thank you, Teacher Amor, for this quotation. So this is my sharing of the learning style. So initially, ito muna yung link, online link. I can also share later the link for the downloaded ebook. For now, what I shared is the online link niya. Of course, requiring you to be connected. Pwede niyong kopyahin lang muna yan so that if you have a better quality of connection, pwede niyo rin siyang ma-open. Medyo mabigat nga lang yung file. So that is the significance of the learning style inventory. So from here, the conformity of the teacher's teaching style and the student's learning style is an important aspect in creating and implementing the learning process in the classroom.
Hello. Welcome to Energy Conservation Incorporated.
Thank you. I really hope to get a job here.
Well, let's get started with your interview. What do you think are your greatest strengths?
My greatest strengths.
Yes, your greatest strengths.
What are my answer choices?
What do you mean?
My answer choices. You know, A, B, C, or D.
There are not any answer choices.
Oh, I understand. In that case, I choose C.
You choose C?
Yes, I choose C. My 5th grade teacher told me to always choose C when I did not know the answer.
Oh, it sounds like your fifth grade teacher really prepared you for your future. Moving on then. This job will require you to write proposals about energy conservation. Are you a strong writer?
Yes. My teachers always told me that I write very good stories. I also like to write poetry.
Well, we will not need you to write poetry or stories. We will need you to write proposals regarding energy conservation.
Proposals. Is that like writing a persuasive essay?
Sure.
In that case, yes. I am very good at writing proposals. Every year in school, my teachers made me write a proposal regarding school uniform policies. I also wrote some proposals about banning cell phones in school. Would you like to read them?
No, I would not like to read them. If you get a job here, you will need to write proposals about energy conservation. Your proposals will need to include basic mathematical equations as well as scientific research.
Wait.
What is wrong?
I am confused.
That is not very surprising.
You said I would have to include mathematical equations and scientific research in my writing.
Yes, that is what I said.
But that doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
Math, science, and writing. They are separate subjects. I don't know if I can incorporate math and science into my writing. They are all very different.
Well, if you work here, that is what you will have to do.
This job seems very difficult. I do not think my public education prepared me to work here.
Well, I have to agree with you. I have one more question for you though. Why did you think you were ever qualified to work here in the first place? Why are you looking around?
You asked me a question, and I do not know the answer. So, I am looking for someone to think pair share with.
There is no one for you to think pair share with.
Oh. In that case, I choose C.
I think I've heard enough. Thank you for coming in.
Alright, so with this video, I suppose we know that the applicant will not be hired because of the result of the interview. But reflecting on this short clip, it will already speak much of the supposedly 21st century learning or 21st century skill that should have been developed by the learner, right? Being prepared for the outside world and employment. Yet, obviously, from the communication skill, from the comprehension, these are some of the skills that are lacking from the applicant. Multiple choice syndrome. Okay, and this is also the more positive counterpart. Thank you, Teacher Jonalyn. You were very critical about the dress code. Tama. Dun pa lang, kumbaga thumbs down na, di ba? We should always dress to impress if we talk about interviews. Napansin mo kaagad yun, Teacher Jonalyn.
Hello. Welcome to Energy Conservation Incorporated.
Thank you for taking the time to interview me. I really would like to work here.
Before we get started, I want to make it clear, I will not be giving you any answer choices.
I'm afraid I don't understand, sir. What do you mean?
Never mind. I just had an unusual interview. Let's get started with your interview. What do you think are your greatest strengths?
Well, let's see. I would have to say my strengths are my ability to collaborate and communicate. I know I don't have all the answers, and I enjoy hearing what other people are thinking. It's fun to work with others to solve problems, even really challenging ones.
That is encouraging. You also said your ability to communicate. Tell me why your ability to communicate is one of your greatest strengths.
Well, my 5th grade teacher said, there is no use in having good thinking if you can't communicate it to the rest of the world. That has always stuck with me, so I've worked hard to be a clear and concise communicator using a variety of media.
It sounds like your 5th grade teacher really prepared you for your future. Moving on then, this job will require you to write proposals on energy conservation. Are you a strong writer?
My teachers have always told me that I am a very strong writer.
We will need you to write proposals regarding energy conservation.
Proposals? I'm not familiar with that term. Is that like writing an argument?
Sure.
Then yes, I am very good at writing proposals. Every year in school my teachers made me write an argument based on evidence from a variety of sources. I had to do a ton of research. I read books and articles, watched video clips, and listened to audio recordings. I scoured the internet for information and then had to judge its validity. After gathering on the information, I wrote my proposals, stating my claim, and supporting it with evidence and sound reasoning. It's a lot of work, but I really enjoy it. And I'm good at it.
If you get a job here, you will have to write proposals about energy conservation. Your proposals will need to include basic mathematical equations as well as scientific research.
Wait.
What is wrong?
Are you kidding? I get to include math and science in my writing?
Yes.
This sounds like the best job ever. I absolutely love using mathematical equations to support the scientific research I cite as evidence. But the best part is being able to clearly explain it all appropriately to the audience.
Well, if you work here, that is what you will get to do.
This job sounds very exciting and challenging. I believe my public education has prepared me very well to work here.
Well, I have to agree with you. I have one more question for you though. When can you start? Why are you looking around?
You asked me a question and I wanted to make sure you were talking to me.
I am.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. Something more positive and indeed a good news, very deserving for the applicant. Matching the students' learning styles with proper teaching style will result a successful interaction between the teachers and students, as well as the learning outcomes will improve. Moreover, contextual learning based on learning styles will encourage the students to make connection between their knowledge and application in daily life, in accordance with the learning styles that the students have to improve their learning outcomes. So, dear teachers, not only that we deserve a weekend after this training, later on matatapos na rin siya. I hope there are some reminders here for our self-care, lalong-lalo na face-to-face na po ulit. You can choose one or two from the different colors and text, and please remember that by heart so that we will continue to be healthy, not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally. Because of this pandemic, there are some instances that we already forget our health, mental health included. Okay? Now, remember, dahil face-to-face class na rin po ulit tayo, let's not forget this. Even on your worst day inside the classroom, you are still some child's best hope. Let's not forget that. Okay? Meron isa na ikaw ang kanyang titingalain. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed our session this morning.
Thank you, Sir Roy, and I hope our dear teachers have also had a lot of takeaways from this morning's presentation. Flex ko lang, Sir Roy, that as of now, 3 of our children have already been under Sir Roy sa senior high school program ng SLU. One is already an engineer, another in the School of Medicine of St. Louis University, and another in grade 12. Kaya naniniwala tayo dun sa mga tinuturo sa atin ni Sir Roy this morning, yung OBE, contextualization. All of these are being practiced in the senior high school program as well in the basic education program of St. Louis University. Kaya hindi po nagjo-joke si Sir Roy. Ganyan po talaga yung ginagawa nila. Sir Roy, ang ganda nung examples natin on contextualization. I think the difference between yung old school teaching where they used examples or activities that are foreign or alien sa mga students. Ang hirap nila cognitively to process. But if you use contextualized examples, simple tools like pictures, kung talagang walang technology or walang access to the internet, really very helpful for our students.
That's very true, Ma'am Ria. That's why let's always stick with the basic on our end as a teacher. Let's not complicate our manner of delivery. What is equally important is the the intention. Why do we offer this strategy or material, and what is our expected target? And from there, we would expect that our learners will not give us the wrong impression. Instead, they will give the feedback that we are expecting from them.
Yes. Talagang mas nai-internalize nila, no? Just like in the two example videos. Yesterday din po si Doc Dots nagbigay ng mga examples using mga investigatory projects naman, using very simple and readily available materials and dealing with issues and problems na nakikita natin sa community. Kaya maganda talaga na tina-target natin yung kind of learners, yung profile nila from their own experiences, from their what they already know, and build on that. Hindi yung masyadong foreign sa kanila. Kaya mas madali nilang maintindihan and napaprocess yung mga science lessons. May questions po ba tayo kay Sir Roy before we end this morning session? I'm sure po nag-enjoy tayo this morning. Very active po, Sir Roy, yung ating mga participants. May questions po ba tayo? Kung wala po, Sir Roy, final words po for our dear teachers.
Yes, again, Sir Roy is very blessed that I've been with you for this Sunday morning, and hopefully, let's not forget that in every way we can, let's continue to give an inspiration to our learners. However, let's not also forget that we also need to be inspired as educators. So it will always work both ways, and always find the reason to be inspired in our mission. Again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. To the i.LEAD team, much appreciated for continuously trusting me.
Thank you, Sir Roy. Sir Roy, pa-share din po ng presentation so that we can share it with our dear teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you po. Thank you, dear teachers, also for being very active this morning. I'm sure po, like Sir Roy, this has been a very fruitful morning for all of us. Kahit na Sunday po, you joined us, and we're very grateful for that. So now po, we can already answer our assessment task for session 4. So a few reminders lang po before we end our fourth and final session. Of course, yung assessment natin. 4 po na assessments yon in one word file. So sasagutan po natin lahat yon at saka po natin isasubmit sa ating submission bin, which is up on our FB group page. Sa mga nagtatanong po kailan ang deadline, alam ko po Sunday po ngayon, marami pa tayong gagawin. So you can leave that po for later. Ang deadline po ng submission natin ay tomorrow up to 5 p.m. So Monday po, 5 p.m. ang ating deadline for the submission. And then po, there are other things to accomplish. Of course, yung ating post-test self-assessment. So tapos na po yung session 4 natin. Pwede na po nating sagutan yan. As well as our program evaluation tool. Mga Google links po yan na nakapost sa ating FB group page. So access lang po natin yan, sagutan natin, and we're done. And then po, of course, yung ating attendance for the 4 sessions. Maraming salamat po again, dear teachers, for participating in our programs. To the divisions of Mati City, Davao de Oro, Davao Occidental, and of course, the SDO of Manila. Thank you very much for trusting i.LEAD, and we hope to see you again in our future activities po. A blessed Sunday to all of us. And again, thank you very much, dear teachers. We now move on to our asynchronous session in order to accomplish our task. Have a blessed Sunday po.